everyone. Pull up a chair and get comfy.
Oh, girl, have we got stories to tell you all. The Never Alone podcast is about to begin, and you don't want to miss a minute.
Hi, and welcome back to our podcast, the Never Alone podcast. And, tonight we're welcoming in my brother, Alan Fisher, again, and we're going to be talking about trivia from the 1940s. As you can see, my co-host, Karen Hurth-Whitty, is now with us. She's in the Sunshine State, having some R&R with family this time during this segment. And so she's getting that relaxation in the sunshine that she needs, because now we're into the winter, well, fall anyway, and it's kind of rainy and cold, and so she was taking a break. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. So Alan is with me, and we're going to be talking about, like I said, the 1940s. And so Alan and I were talking about this ahead of time, and what we were talking about was the different things that happened during the 1940s. And Alan, can you recall some of the things that started like in 1942, for example? What was significant about 1942? Do you remember?
The Battle of Guadalcanal. It's when we invaded Guadalcanal, and we took over an airfield there called Henderson Field.
Okay.
And there was a big battle there, and that was the start of the island hopping that we were doing during World War II.
Okay, cool. Yeah. 1940s was a very turbulent time, and who was the president then? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Okay, and he was a Democrat, correct?
He was a Democrat.
Yeah. What was he known for? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It was the New Deal, which is, it started in 1932.
Okay, what was the New Deal? What was that all about?
That was his efforts to bring us out of the Great Depression.
Yeah, the Depression was going on. When did the Depression start? Do you remember the date with that one?
That was during the Hoover administration. Like in 1929, they had the market crash, the horrible thing on Wall Street, and then after that, the economy went right out the window, and then it was the Great Depression. There were documentaries, there were 10-part series that talk about the Great Depression and books.
And we had family members, of course, that lived through the Great Depression. We had our Bubby, our grandmother, our mother's mother, and she came over here during the Bolshevik Revolution. I've mentioned that in other segments. But she lived through the Depression with two little ones. And later on in the 1940s, she lost her husband, and then she was a single mom. And there was a lot going on. So you had the Depression, and there was something called the Dust Bowl. What was that all about? And what year was that? Do you remember the year with that one?
It was around 1933. It was during the 30s. They really didn't do a lot of, they overfarmed the land, and the weather caught up to them, I believe, and all throughout the Midwest, farms just went to everything dried up. So that's where they get the Dust Bowl.
Right. So the Dust Bowl was a lot of wind and a lot of dust. What was that about? How would you describe the Dust Bowl?
Well, the earth just dried up.
Right, but there was a lot of wind, what I remember.
Right. In the Midwest, there's a lot of wind, period.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there was a lot of dust. Dust Bowl, got it.
Right?
It turned into a Dust Bowl.
Narrowing.
You know why I'm laughing for our viewers here? We had so much trouble getting on, with the technology and things not working right. We just started laughing. It's just ridiculous, But anyway, yeah. So then Franklin Delano Roosevelt came in during the Depression. Did he come in, and what did he do? Because I think
it was during the Depression. He was elected during the Depression, 1932. Yeah.
He inherited a lot of issues, didn't he?
He sure did. The whole thing was falling apart. Sort of like what happened in nowadays, like in 2008, it was just a huge mess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge mess now. But we won't talk about that.
Right. But
The
it
other
was
thing,
a.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was just going to say the other thing that's so special to me about the 1940s is we had two aunts that told me a lot of information about the 1940s because they were living it. We had Auntie Ruthie, who was our mother's sister, her older sister, who was going to, high school at that time. And they talked about the different movies that were going on and the different cars. And, you had mentioned to me last night about a car in particular called the Tucker. What was that? And then there was a movie about it. What's that all about? Can you explain about the Tucker and what year it was and why?
Right at the end of World War II, in 1946, there was an ambitious entrepreneur called Preston Tucker. He was a good engineer, but he was a better salesman. And he wanted to get a jump on the big three coming out of the war.
Yeah.
And he had access to a huge facility to make the cars, and he had a great design, and he really ran with it. And he actually came up with I think it was like 100 cars, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
It was a bit. 100 physical cars. They didn't make too many of them, but there are to this day, a few around. But
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was at a winery in Napa Valley. At one of the wineries, I saw a real Tucker. It was very impressive, very, very pretty car. I don't have a picture of one to show you, but
well, our viewers can Google it or do. What is it? GPT or whatever it is.
Yeah,
we're
so
showing
many of it.
I know it's crazy. But one of the things that, was really cool that I learned about the 1940s was from Auntie Elaine, who unfortunately just passed away. And she and I were very close, and she told me tons of stories. And one of the things that she told me was, I think she probably was like 6 or 7 years old when Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed away, and she remembers the funeral. And of course, back then, you heard about the funeral on the radio, and you heard about the funeral while you read about it in the newspapers, because there wasn't any television. And if there was television, because I can't recall when it was invented, when was television invented? Do you happen to remember that? Because it's in my book.
TV goes back to the 1920s.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so,
we didn't have it in homes, though, until...
Oh, no. But it was known about. But it was like, really early internet. Nobody really had access to it. It was... It was a medium that in fact, I remember seeing a television on an episode of the Three Stooges.
I was just going to mention
that. In the late 30s.
Yeah.
And
it was like a big deal. I remember, describe that episode from the Three Stooges as it was very funny,
Well, there was part of there was one of the pipes in the house, right? The plumbing. And the people, and Curly pulled out all kinds of wires from their electrical pipes. They thought that, one pipe's the same as the other pipe. So they hooked up a water line to the electrical pipes. And they were watching TV of Niagara Falls. And all of a sudden, water just kind of comes flying out of the TV. It was funny.
Just to be clear.
That was a 40s thing.
Yeah. But just to be clear, in that Three Stooges episode, the Three Stooges were in another room upstairs, I believe, and they were hooking the pipes
up. It was all over the house. Yeah.
It was all over the house.
Curly was upstairs. He was drilling in the thing, trying to drain the water out of the flood. He got up in the second floor or third floor bathroom or something. And then Larry and Mo were downstairs hooking up the pipes.
Yeah.
So it was a mess.
Curly was actually in a bathtub, and he hooked the pipes up, so
Right,
he was
right.
actually trapped like in a cage. And he was going, you know. For our viewers that don't
It's
know,
right.
huh? I was just going to say, for the viewers that don't know who the Three Stooges are, they were a comedy act back, and they started back in the 1940s, didn't they?
Early 30, like 34 and 35.
Yeah.
Was the very first Three Stooges. That was, I think it was the woman. It was like the woman haters club that they were trying to join.
And so, right, yeah. So do you remember that episode with showing the television? It was funny because they were showing off this television and the show of Niagara. They were showing Niagara Falls, and everybody was like, "Wow, ooh, ah!" And it was like all these really rich people, and they were very
right.
very well to do, and they were like, "Oh, isn't this nice?" And all of a sudden, the TV
a big flood of water comes out of the TV. Here we are at Niagara Falls. Here we are at Niagara Falls. And here at Niagara Falls coming out of the TV. It
was hilarious.
Right.
Alan and I grew up on the Three Stooges, and we just loved that show. But my point is, that's around the time that they started really talking about television coming into the home. Was it that episode? That episode, you think, was in the 1930s or in the 40s? I thought 30s. That was in the 40s.
That might have been like 1938. Those are an early, a mid Curly. Curly started like in 34. He went to like until he got sick.
Yep.
In like the early 40s.
Yep. And then when you and I were growing up, we were around a lot of family members that talked an awful lot about, everything was entertainment and how did it start and what was it like. And so in the 1940s, can you remember some of the movies that were prominent back then? We had talked about that a couple of days ago. You had talked about
Casablanca.
Yeah, and you had talked about Jeff Bridges playing the part of the guy, the Tucker guy.
Preston Tucker. Yeah, Preston Tucker.
In a 1988 movie. Can you tell us a little bit about that from what you remember?
The movie or the
movie?
It's it was supposed to be historically accurate. So if you ever wanted to learn about that particular car or the led up to that car, that's an excellent movie. I think it won some awards. It was a very good movie. 1988. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had heard of it, but I've never seen it. I think I might check it out because I'm curious what the Tucker car looks like. And as I said, for our viewers, you can look it up on ChatGPT. And
it was very innovative. At the time, safety was not really an issue for cars.
Not at all.
So, not at all. But he actually thought, safer car would be a good selling point, but nobody really cared. At the time.
Yep.
And it was an unusual car too. It had like a Cyclops headlight in front that would turn with the wheels, so it was able to see around corners and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. The eyes get itchy.
Yeah, they do.
Please excuse this brief interruption for a shameless commercial. Remember, you can get your own copy of Iris's book, Never Alone, at irisfsmith.com.
So who else was prominent back in the 1940s in terms of entertainment? Let's shift to entertainment for a minute here. You mentioned something about the Marx Brothers. We talked about the Three Stooges. A lot of comedy back then, huh?
Also, like I said, Casablanca was a huge movie right before the war.
Yep.
That was Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall. Great movie.
And what was that movie about?
Timeless.
Yeah, I saw it too.
That was about. It took place in French, a French colony in Africa, Casablanca.
Yep.
And they were trying to dodge Germans. as everybody in Europe, everybody around the world is trying to do.
And that movie was in the night. Would you remember what year it was by any chance?
I think it was 1940.
So it was right at the beginning of the decade. Okay. Yeah.
Huh?
While the war was going
Right.
on.
The war was going on in Europe, but not here. We weren't involved yet.
Okay. When did we get involved? Do you remember from that history? Not that you were there.
Yeah, December 7th, 1941.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that
A
sounds
day
familiar.
a day that will live in infamy.
And what
Pearl
was that?
Harbor. What's that?
What was that all
What was
about?
that all about? A boot.
A boot.
Yeah, boot. I was Canadian.
What was it a boot?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Never mind. We still got technology.
My Google machine was like,
Oh, what's that?
my Google machine, and he was trying to talk to me.
Everybody's trying to talk
Anyway,
to you.
I know.
Even your
December
machine.
7th, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii,
Yeah.
and sunk a couple of battleships and really wrecked the place.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that a little bit
Uh,
with the Pearl Harbor, what happened with that? And Franklin Roosevelt was
I- I-
president,
I-
right?
And I was actually stationed there in
But
Pearl
not
Harbor, Hawaii.
not in 1941.
No,
Alan, we're older, but let's not push it.
well, not that old, right? No, the Arizona is still there, and the USS Arizona. I can't remember what might have been BB-58 or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's still 1,100 guys, down at the bottom of Pearl Harbor. They were never able to bring it up, so they just left it there as a grave
Memorial.
site.
Yeah, a memorial.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That was something. I mean, our country was under
Uh-huh.
attack. And you see this thing happening through history, almost where history repeats itself, because you had, Pearl Harbor. Was that the first time we were under attack in our country that you can think of?
Yeah.
And, and then we had then we had 9/11 was the next time, or was there another time before that? I can't recall anything in between. Can you?
No.
Yeah.
9/11 was more of a terrorist attack than a state attacking us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Japan, the Empire of Japan was an actual entity. These 5 guys and these 20 guys and something like that were just thrown together to wreck something. There was no state that was behind them. It was
Okay,
just
so-
I saw what's his name? Whatever his name was. I want to say Saddam Hussein, but it wasn't Saddam Hussein. It was the other guy they killed in Afghanistan or Pakistan.
Yeah.
What's his name? A Saudi guy.
I can't recall
You
it
know,
either.
if I have to check ChatGPT,
Because if you ask people, we don't remember. Anyway, so
if you're on,
just to recap a little bit. Okay, so December 7th, 1941 was the day that will live in infamy. That would begin our
that
involvement.
was a
in
very
World War
famous
II.
speech.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that began our involvement
that
in
too.
World War II, correct?
He gave that speech in front of a joint session of Congress,
Mhm.
and they actually declared war. That's the last time that war was declared by Congress. Everything
Yeah.
else is, up until now has been, just nobody goes to Congress for anything anymore.
Yeah.
They just willy-nilly, attack it, whatever. Anyway.
So that's, we're talking about trivia from the 1940s, okay? So we entered into
Mhm.
World War II.
Humphrey Bogart. Uh-huh.
Well, hang on a second. All right, so we entered into the World War II thing in 1941. How long did the war last? How long were we involved?
I believe until VJ Day, was, I think, in August of 1945.
Why did they call
That's
it
victory over
V-Day?
Japan. Victory over Japan.
Okay.
And I believe that the previous May or June, we had defeated Germany, which was VE Day, Victory in
Okay.
Europe.
All right. Yeah. And so how long were we involved in the war? And you mentioned something about no cars. Hold on a second. You mentioned something about no
Osama
cars.
bin Laden.
Oh. Back to present day.
If I come up with it now, I should have had it right down.
Yeah. It's gone. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so how long?
Okay.
Well, my question is, okay, so how long were we involved in the war? And you had mentioned how no cars were being processed or made during like a 4-year period. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Uh-huh. In 1942, they stopped making automobiles. All the car companies converted to a war footing. So
Okay.
instead of making cars, they were making tanks, trucks, jeeps, airplanes, guns, ships,
I see. Okay.
submarines.
Yeah. And at that
But
time,
we had a tremendous amount of resources to be able to manufacture stuff. We overwhelmed the Axis powers with
okay.
with our ability to make things.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
We were the world's leading manufacturer of everything.
Right. Okay. So then after that 4-year period, who started making cars again? Was it that guy Tucker? Or the other guy Preston?
No. What had happened was, they stopped the auto making cars in 1942, right?
Right.
And then so in 45, they just started making 1942 cars again.
Okay.
That's all they had. That's all they were set up to do. So the guy Tucker had a completely new idea. So it looked like something. It was like a space age type of car. In the mid 40s, that he thought he could sell that. Because the big three was still switching over their tooling from cars. I mean, making tanks and stuff to making cars. So he thought there was a small window of opportunity for him to try and sell something.
And didn't you say
make a
that
difference.
Right. Didn't you say he was like the Elon Musk of his time? Was it him or Preston?
Preston.
Okay, who's he?
I mean, that was his first name, Preston Tucker.
Oh,
he
it's
named the
same-
car after himself.
Okay, because there was a second person that you talked about that was also doing some things, some innovations. But wasn't Preston Tucker the guy that was more like Elon Musk at the time?
He was
had the same
a vision.
Yep, a vision. You also had talked about someone else. Wasn't there a second person who was doing a lot of innovative stuff? You had mentioned that last time.
There's a lot of people, but I mentioned,
Okay, what was he all about?
I can't remember his first name, but he was an industrialist. He's the one that built all the Liberty ships.
Okay.
That helped get all our manufacturing goods, overseas.
Mm-hmm.
He built them very quickly, and they were just no barges that they used to float across to England and stuff, and to Russia, and to the Far East, to get raw materials to where they had to be.
Yeah.
But anyways, Kaiser came with the car at the time too, and he's famous for was he started his own health insurance for his workers.
Kaiser Permanente.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that
That's
what
the one.
that's right? And that was back in the 1940s originally?
He started, the way that started was he needed, his employees needed health insurance.
Wow.
He started that.
I always wonder where that came from.
They,
Kaiser
they would pull
Permanente.
it out of the air. It-
You don't
I think
think
I'll call
about
this Kaiser Permanente.
You just don't think about this stuff, you know?
Right.
So I wanted to talk for a few moments to shift gears here a little bit with the trivia to some of let's go back to the movies for a minute, okay? There was a lot
Uh-huh.
of comedy back then that was really
Uh-huh.
coming out in the movie
Uh-huh.
theater because, again, people didn't have televisions in their homes yet. And if they did, it was very, very rare, you know? Maybe the Three
Yeah.
Stooges,
You get to,
you know?
yeah, Shorts or Bugs Bunny at the time or
Yeah.
Disney.
Right. And they saw most of this stuff in the movie theater, correct?
That's the only place.
Yeah, yeah. Where else was it? There was
The only place.
there was no drive-ins yet. Drive-ins didn't come around until the 50s, right?
That's probably the late 40s, maybe. Or maybe,
Maybe
now I'm stumped. You
Well,
stumped.
ask
You stumped me.
ChatGPT.
Where was the first drive-in?
You're right. The first drive-in movie. We used to go to the drive-ins back in the 19. We call them drive-ins, but they were drive-in movie theaters that you saw, in the summertime. You couldn't do it in the winter in New England because it'd be snowing, So it'd be
Right.
too cold. It was a summertime thing, and we did it as kids. We did it as families. It was a big event. Remember?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go out there in our footy pajamas and play in the swings in front of the screen.
And we used to watch the TV. No, not the TV. Sorry. We used to watch the movie from the back of the station wagon. We would have our sleeping bags rolled out and our little toy dolls. And, well, I had toy dolls. I don't know what you had.
A car or something.
I didn't have no toy dolls, huh? I can remember
No.
us, Ellen, playing together as kids. And it was always, I always had to give in and play army with you. You would never play dolls with me. I always had to be the one to give in.
Why was that? Why was that?
But, we had to, and even when we got older and we were teenagers, I remember you had a mini bike. And so you let me borrow that. And we just found a
I had
commonality. Yeah. One for me and one for you.
No, they were back to back.
Yeah.
They were all for me.
Right. But I used to take them and ride with my friends, if you remember. And but we found a commonality in playing together. You and I were very close back then. We were very close in age. In fact, people thought we were twins. And I think our viewers looking at us are probably thinking the same thing. They're twins. Because we're only a year and a half apart. And we actually were in the same
Right.
grade. Yeah. So everybody thought we were twins. And we did a lot together. We still do, even though we don't live in the same state at this time.
If we
But-
if we took the two shots that we're looking at right now and we superimposed them, it would look exactly like Mummy.
Our mother,
Right.
who we called Mummy.
Put my face superimpose my mummy face onto your Bubby face. Right?
Yeah, that's our mother and our grandmother. And, we have a lot of resemblance going on here. It's funny because my son and your son look like us who look like each other. They're first cousins. And we just have a lot of lookalikes. It's pretty incredible. But anyway, before we close out for the evening, I wanted to mention a couple of other things. We had a president named Ronald Reagan. Where did he start? What was he like back in the 1940s? He was an actor, correct?
Yeah, he was the president of the Actors Guild. He was the
Okay.
head of the union.
Okay.
Very much a Democrat
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Very much he was a big, huge liberal. He changed in the 80s, though. It was the biggest change.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was in a lot of war movies too.
Yeah, he was. He started out as an actor, and then wasn't he governor for a while somewhere? Maybe in California?
California.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And what year was that? What years were that? I mean, roughly. Do you remember?
Yeah. I'm 66 through 70 or something like that. Well, maybe 64 and 68 or something like that.
Oh,
Was
okay.
he
It was
coming to
later on
California?
then. Okay. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Because he was acting. And I remember in the movie Back to the Future, Doc Brown made reference to the fact he said Ronald Reagan, the actor, is president. I suppose Jaden Wyman is his wife, right?
Right?
His first lady. Do you remember that?
Right,
from
that's what he
Back to the
said.
Future? Yeah. Yeah, it was funny.
Great
So
movie.
anyway, we have a few more actors that I wanted to mention. John Wayne was prominent in the 1940s. Did he begin in the 1940s or did he begin in the 1930s in film?
Early 30s. I think he was in some of the first talkies. I can't remember the exact movie, but he goes way back.
Okay. Now, can you elaborate on what talkies mean for our viewers that don't know what that means? It goes way back. That's a trivia question. What does talkies mean?
Well, before talkies came to be, there were silent movies, and when they first got the ability to record audio,
Yeah.
they first of them as talkies. And at one time, they could only put words on the screen, closed caption the whole thing.
And they had somebody
And
playing
even
a
that-
live instrument in the theater, right?
Yeah.
Like
Your brother,
which one?
your brother, the one was in Long Beach,
Our brother Lance. Yeah.
right?
He's your
Had
brother.
a friend, right? Had a friend who played an organ, and we saw a silent movie in downtown San Francisco, and he played the organ throughout the whole movie, and he's excellent.
Like they used to. Yeah.
It was amazing. I couldn't believe how good it was.
Wow.
I mean, that was a special thing.
Yeah, I mean, back then, before
The-
when they had the silent movies, Alan, they didn't have any voices, so they had closed caption, so to speak. The words, and then somebody playing the organ.
But they wouldn't be that good. They'd be like two words, like hello, goodbye, whatever, and then they hit him over the head with something.
A lot of it was action that you had to kind of figure out what was
Right.
going on. I guess back then you used your imagination in the movie theater instead of having everything right there for you. So
or books.
So the other thing that you mentioned to me the other night, I'll just kind of close with this one, is you mentioned something about Audie Murphy. Who was he?
He was a war hero during World War II.
Okay.
He got Congressional Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
What he did was he mowed it. He stopped like a whole tank column
Mm-hmm.
with one. He all he had was a burning tank. He jumped on top of the burning tank. There was a 50 caliber machine gun there.
Okay.
And all he did was shoot all the Germans that were charging at him from a burning tank.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Amazing. There's a movie. You check it out. It's amazing.
And we complained about
He reenacted as an actor.
Wow. Okay. And we complain if our teeth hurt, right?
Right.
Or if we get a little boo-boo in our finger.
Right.
Ow.
Ow.
I can't take it.
But he survived.
Yeah.
He saved a bunch of people.
Yeah. Now, what was he?
But
What branch of the service was he in?
that was U.S. Army.
The Army. Okay. Yep. And that was in the 40s?
That was during World War II.
Yeah, during World War II. Okay. And one more time, when
Fighting
did
the Germans.
fighting the Germans. When did World War II end, did you say?
1945.
Okay, so right in the mid-1940s. So
Yeah.
can you remember, and I don't know if you can remember this before we close out here, what between 1949 and 1950, what was significant about that time? Because there was something else that took place.
Between
Yeah,
what years? I'm sorry.
So 1945 closed out World War II, but in 1949 and
Mhm.
1950, something else took place. Do you remember what that was? Our father was involved in it.
Right. The Berlin Airlift,
Yeah, the Korean War. Yeah,
Korean War, but he was in Europe, right?
yeah,
And what they were trying to save Berlin, and he was involved in the Berlin Airlift.
right, right. Our father, you mean?
So it's right.
Yeah, yeah. He was in the Air Force.
Right. That's when the Cold War started.
Right, right. Yeah. So I think that we're going to close this out for tonight. And I really enjoyed our conversation, Alan, as I always do. Alan and I love to talk about history and trivia. And some of this is mentioned in my book called Never Alone. And if you want to know more about the book, you can go to irisfsmith.com and you can see more stories like this about history. My book covers history from 1918 up until about 2020. So there's a lot of history in that book, and people are really enjoying it. And me and Alan enjoyed talking about it and talking about all these different things. And we had so many family members that could tell us stories that we sat and listened to between 1918 and 2020. We heard it all, didn't we?
Yep.
So,
Yes.
Alan, I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and I want to thank the viewers for sitting in with us. And we hope you'll join us next time. But for now, you have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Wow, that was awesome, wasn't it?
I know those stories were really something.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time when we share more stories from Iris's book, Never Alone.
Order your copy of Never Alone at irisfsmith.com today.